Okay, next headline that we got is it seems like we're shaping up for a Super Bowl rematch that we had this last year. It looks like it's shaping up to be the same situation this year. Chiefs, Eagles, both balling out, both doing their thing. Both got impressive wins on Sunday, and I mean, it sucks. It doesn't suck that we're going to see this again. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of storylines the first time that I'm excited to dive into if we do get a Super Bowl rematch, but it's definitely shaping up to be like that right now. The Eagles further established themselves on Sunday Night Football after beating the Dolphins handedly. We talked about that earlier. And the Chiefs in themselves got an impressive victory against the Chargers, 31-17 in that one. Last week, I talked in depth about how the Chiefs, they're redefining their offense, they're establishing their run game. Pacheco is the best running back he's had since Kareem Hunt, Jamal Charles, LaShawn McCoy type, company. And of course, in Andy Reid classic fashion, he completely flips the script this past week. They had a season-low rushing attempts, season-high in pass attempts. Mahomes went 424 with 4 TDs. And, I mean, Andy Reid's just a chameleon. He will continue to adjust week to week based on what teams are adjusting for with the Chiefs. I've tried to argue against the Chiefs for 3 years. I said that they couldn't do it without Tyreek Hill. They could. I said that Travis Kelce was getting too old. He's not. I'm done downing this team at this point. I think you can almost pencil him in to get back to the Super Bowl, especially with the script writers supporting this whole Taylor Swift narrative. But, I mean, the Eagles did their thing. I know I didn't talk about them too much, but they certainly impressed on Sunday Night Football. A.J. Brown proved he's an alpha out of receivers in the National Football League right now. But are you leaning towards a rematch in this coming Super Bowl? Do you think this is likely?
I mean, right now you have to say that, especially with the struggles from San Fran and Brock Purdy in particular. You gotta like the Eagles' chances to get back. The one thing that concerns me with the Eagles is Jalen Hurts is really prone to turnovers. He fumbled it again this week, threw a pick 6 this week. I think he's got 9 turnovers or 8 interceptions and 10, 11 turnovers already this year, which is a huge problem to have because that's the one thing that can derail this team is the turnovers. If they don't turn the ball over, I don't know who beats them with that defense, especially that front. And then you've got that offensive line. If it stays healthy, those receivers like you're talking about with A.J. Brown. You didn't even mention Dallas Goedert, who's a really good tight end as well. You got the run game now with Swift that you didn't have last year. It's a really, really good team. I think on a collision course for these two to meet again is definitely the possibility. I think the one thing that I've been touching on since preseason with this Chiefs team, and I'll continue to touch on it, is their defense. This is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had since he's been there. They gave up 0 points to the Chargers in the second half of that game. Also, that game was at 41 points at halftime, 24-17. I had the over 48.5. They got 7 points in the second half. How do you get 7 points between those two offenses? So awful beat for me. Awful beat. I did have Chiefs minus 5.5, so it ended up evening out. But the defense is just absolutely incredible. The only loss they've had this year, their receiver, we could have went out there and caught more passes than those receivers did in that game against the Lions week 1. Chris Jones was out of that game. Travis Kelce was out of that game. That's the only game that they've lost. They've won every single game since then.
It was a close game.
Oh, that's right. And that's right. They beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year. They are the best team in football. I'm tired of people saying that. I don't care if it's a different year. Most of the same pieces are still there. It's relatively the same exact teams. The only thing that the Chiefs don't have is Juju.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're missing him that much, to be
Rice
honest.
Is better than Juju.
Rashee Rice looks great. Oh, what a pickup that was in my one league. I'm very, very happy with that.
Both,
the other guy that they just got back from injury, I can't remember his name, the defensive lineman. Not from injury. He was suspended for 6 games for substance abuse. I believe that's what it was.
Will find it.
But they got him back this week, and he looked incredible this week. He had, I think, 1 sack and was able to get multiple. Amenahu, that's who it was, Charles Amenahu. They got him back, and he looks great. Now, one of the question marks is Nick Bolton is out He's injured. He's got surgery. He's going to be out for, I think, 2 months.
Oh,
That is huge because he is kind of like their quarterback of their defense. He plays that middle linebacker role great. I think he's second or third year out of Mizzou, so he's kind of a local guy too. They
he's starting
love
to
him.
find that defense.
That's
for
going to
sure.
be a big miss. Yeah, that's going to be a big miss. But other than that, this defense is legit. And if you've got that defense and you've got Patrick Mahomes on the other side, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. The question is, if the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl, do they kick Usher out of the halftime show and let Taylor Swift perform? You got to start raising that question. Right?
Taylor Swift gets revenge for getting kicked off stage by Kanye and goes ahead and kicks off stage Usher at the Super Bowl halftime.
That would be funny. But I agree with you. I would say these two are definitely the favorites. After talking about all of that and the Chiefs being the best team in football, I think they have less likely of a chance to go to the Super Bowl than the Eagles just because of how good the AFC is. I talk about the Ravens. We're going to talk about the Bills in a little while. They're in that category. The Dolphins are in that category. Even the Bengals, don't forget about them. They make the playoffs. You know that they're going to be a team, and they've had the Chiefs number in the past as well. So the crazy part to think about is this, too. If the Chiefs do make the championship, it would be their 6th straight AFC championship. The Astros just made their 7th straight LCS. 2 dynasties that are going on right in front of our eyes in 2 different sports that we really don't talk about, and I don't think we appreciate all that much right now either. So just something to keep an eye on. And if the Chiefs host that game, that'll be their 6th game that they've hosted a championship game, which is a record that I don't think will ever be broken.
I mean, this is a dynasty happening right in front of our eyes. That's for sure. Damn. Astros 7th straight. I mean, I just hate the Astros in the same way that people hate the Chiefs right now. Just people are going to hate on success. I was one of those guys.
Yeah, but at least the Chiefs don't cheat.
That is a great point.
That we know of. That
would be cheating scandal incoming for Kansas City. But yeah, I think this is definitely a fast track to a rematch of last year's Super Bowl. Last thing I'll mention before we move on. Just yesterday, the Eagles made a trade for the Titans safety Kevin Byard. This comes after some significant secondary injuries going on in Philly. They had James Bradbury going out to safety at one point a couple weeks ago against the Commanders. So they're really banged up in the secondary. They go out and get Kevin Byard to help with that problem. And Kevin Byard, I mean, he's an all-pro. So he's really going to help this team a lot. And Howie Roseman Is Howie Roseman the only general manager in the league actually doing his job? Is my question. Because he makes so many trades.
Man. Brett Veach does a really good job in Kansas City. Yeah. Funny enough, that's why we're talking about both of these teams. But yeah, you know, it's they traded Terrell Edmonds in a 5th and a 6th or something like that for Kevin Byard, who's basically an all-pro safety. I mean, this guy has been one of the best safeties in the league for the last 4 or 5 years, and they get him for next to nothing. I mean, they got A.J. Brown and Kevin Byard for a 5th and a 6th, and Terrell Edmonds and Traylon Burks and Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, they just ripped the Titans off in back-to-back trades. And what are the Titans doing? I mean, that's the other question that you got to bring up is who else are the Titans going to sell? Derrick Henry? Got to be up there as a question. DeAndre Hopkins, maybe?
And then Jefferson.
Some of these guys that are veterans.
He could be dealt. We'll see what happens.
There's definitely some question marks going on in Tennessee right now. And this is what I said coming into this year, that I was not sold on Tennessee whatsoever. And what have they done this year that's impressed me? Pretty much nothing. I have no idea how they got the win that they got over the Bengals, just blowing them out. And then I think they beat the Chargers as well in overtime. But, they have not looked good,
take my flowers.
At all. I have no trust.
I hate to take my flowers, but I was pretty low on the Titans coming into this year. And, I mean, it was...
I was too. I was low on them last year, and I'm low on them again this year. I think I said that the Texans would finish ahead of them this year, and here we are, 7 weeks in, and it's looking pretty damn good for that prediction.
Let's go, man.
But yeah, with the Kevin Byard trade, that's the reason why Jaden wants to put the Eagles ahead of them. But Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna keep saying it. And I'm not gonna stop. And there's nothing that you can say that's going to deter me away from that, because basically the same exact pieces are there again this year. So why should I think anything else?
For sure. And they beat They beat him with a fully healthy secondary. Like I mentioned to Jaden, like the reason they're trading for Byard is because they have nobody in the secondary right now. So
Yeah.
are you really getting better? I mean, you're trading for a huge name who's a great football player, but with how depleted you are right now, you're not even getting better. So Chiefs are my number one.
Eli Ricks might be a guy to look at. I was reading a statistic from him earlier today that was talking about how he has allowed like a 46.3 passer rating against him this year. And I don't think Tyreek Hill caught one ball going against him in solo coverage. So an undrafted free agent out of Alabama. And if you really want to dive even deeper than that, he was a former 5-star coming out of high school going into Alabama. So this is a guy that has had the talent and the spotlight of it throughout his entire career, and he was just an undrafted free agent because he didn't have that good of a final year at Bama. But once again, Howie Roseman just doing his job and doing it well.
Look at Swift right now, man. Like, he traded for Swift for a bag of chips. Like, he's the only GM that seems like he's doing his job outside of Veach, who is the Kansas City Chiefs general manager, and that's why these teams will be going to the Super Bowl for a second year in a row.